Justin, what have you bought now?
Right. So everybody knows that the World Rally Championship is the best motorsport in the world, hands down. Best cars, best drivers, no one can debate that.
Okay, that's a bit of a statement. I guess that'll leave some comments.
Look, every man on earth wants a world rally car in his garage. It's basically like a street car on steroids. What's not to love?
Is that like your Louis Vuitton for the ladies?
Yeah.
But on that note, I'm sure you spent a heck of a lot of money on this.
What? Well, talking about money, Kristen,
Yeah?
a world rally car, how much does that cost? Millions.
Apparently.
So I figure an old Go Kart, a 3D printer, and a wild imagination, I can build my own world rally car. It's gonna be sick.
Righto.
No other complications on this project.
I love.
Now, despite my wife laughing at my ignorance, I didn't quite tell her the full story. See, not only did I want to build my own half-scale rally car, but I want to take it to Rally Finland, the World Championship's premier event, and somehow see if I can get 8 times world champion Sebastien Ogier to drive my car. So with that big crazy goal set, it was time to work out what type of rally car I was actually going to build. But to be honest, I was always going to build a Toyota Yaris, mainly because they look so cool. And before kids, my wife and I also rallied an old Toyota. And after I found this awesome 3D model online, I realized I was going to need some help. And lucky for me, I befriended Thomas a couple of years ago from White Space Props. And he really knows what he's doing with 3D modeling and printing. But could he really help me?
Funny thing is that, as far as I can tell, this one doesn't have any thickness to it. It doesn't have any thickness, so none of this is 3D printable.
Ah, crap. So what do we need to do to fix this model so that it can be printable?
Like, okay, let me see if I can confirm my suspicions. Yeah, everything here is their separate part. I think for your needs, we would need to join everything up together, make sure it's one solid piece, add some thickness, and make sure that it's solid and that you have a solid base to work from. It's going to be big, like, considering this is a car. I'm thinking 50, 60 print jobs at least for the bigger parts, and then the smaller parts like the handle and mirror and everything else you do want.
So it's a massive project.
Yeah, this will keep my printer busy for months.
It was absolutely amazing to have Thomas on board this project, but it was going to take him hundreds of hours of modeling plus about 1,500 hours of printing. And with Rally Finland only 4.5 months away, I had to get on with the chassis. Right. Because Thomas has scaled the model according to the width of this go-kart, wheel to wheel, which is about 1,200 millimeters, about 46, 47 inches, a whole heap of stuff needs to be changed according to that. For example, the wheelbase is too short right now. We need to extend it by 580 millimeters. I don't know what that is in inches, but some guy's happy with that. First, I had to remove all the parts that would get in the way of me cutting it in the middle. And this was the scariest bit, destroying a perfectly good camera to get this shot. Now to make the joints stronger, I used a bit of pipe inside a pipe because I saw it on a YouTube video. With the wheelbase now extended, I had to find a way to strengthen the chassis. Alright, we've extended this frame a lot and we need to support it a little bit more, otherwise it's going to bend in the middle. And I have a habit of overcomplicating things, but a friend of mine said, why don't you just use a bit of flat bar? And I thought, smart idea, let's do that. So I bought some flat bar. We're gonna weld that up on this edge like that, and hopefully that'll give us the support we need. Using the bender, I bent the flat bar to follow the curves of the chassis, then grinded back the surface so that I could weld it on, laying a weld about every 100 millimeters. Now, before I could go crazy with cross bracing, I had to work out the position of the seat and the angle I would sit at so that I and potentially Sebastien Ogier could actually drive this thing. I know what you're thinking. This is the worst wing you've ever seen in your life. But it's not a wing, guys. It's just the roof. I have to work out the height of the seat and how far I have to lean it back so that I can get under the roof with a helmet on and I can drive comfortably. So that's what I'm doing now. Trying to work that out. It's very precise, I know. Once I'd found a good seating position, I cut off the old mounts and modified them to the new seat position. Now the seat was in, I had to add a cross brace. Well, at least that's what I thought I had to do. Let's be honest, I have no idea about chassis design, and I know the spring rate probably is not going to be good by over bracing this chassis, but I had to add something in here. And in addition, since the seat was lower than the chassis itself, I thought I'd better add some arse protection. Well, the other tricky bit, trying to work out where the steering wheel sits. Obviously, I can't have it like that.
Are you sure?
That doesn't
That looks
work.
like a great position. Very good for your shoulders.
Plus, it'd be out of the roof if that was that.
Perfect ergometric.
But even if I was to put it here where the original was, it's still too far away.
Oh, it's too far away. And what? You're going to keep hitting your knees?
Yeah, basically. So I have to work out how to bring it back. It looks like I'm going to have to need like a universal joint in here so that I can join these two at the angle, and then I still have steering. But then the other side of it is gear shifter as well. That all needs to come forward. Clutch needs to come forward as well. So there's so much I have to think about in just steering. But enough thinking, it was time to start doing by looking at the steering wheel quick release coupling. With that welded onto the end of the steering shaft, I had to look at the universal joint, and it fit pretty snug straight away. However, I did need to support the steering shaft somehow, and after a bit of thinking, I had a plan. And within minutes I'd mocked up this infusion and printed it in my 3D printer. Finally, steering is finished with the clutch, gear shifter, everything's welded up super nice. Universal works awesome. Everything works as it should. So, what's next? What's next? Well, we've got to reinstall the engine, but because we've extended the chassis, we need to extend the gear linkage, we need to extend the brake lines, the fuel lines, and we need to modify the radiator because we're now having this inside a body where it's not going to get any airflow. So we need to install a fan to keep this thing cool. All right, first up we had to make the gear linkage from an old tie rod and some 10mm rod. Now I needed this gear linkage not to bend, so I 3D printed some guides to keep it straight and true. To mount the radiator, I just welded on some brackets, but then I also used the 3D printer to make these mounts for the fan. They fit perfect, and sometimes I wonder how I work without a 3D printer before. For the brake line, I just changed the short one out with a longer one, and that was pretty easy. But during that process I realized some idiot had cut through the front brake lines with an angle grinder. So I changed the front brake lines as well. Then I just needed to bleed the whole system out. The last thing I needed to extend were the fuel lines. And I decided to put a new fuel tank in because the old one was leaking a little. Right, we are nearly there. We just need to put some wheels on this thing. Now, because I'm scaling this thing, the wheels also need to be in proportion. So I've decided to go with these 10-inch cross-cart wheels. Problem is, it has a 4-stud pattern. This has a 3-stud pattern. So how are we going to fix this? 3D printing. Well, actually not. This is just a prototype I've made for the stud adapter. Through 3D printing, we can easily iterate different versions and make sure we have what we want. However, I don't have the tools to make this thing. But lucky for me, this video is sponsored by PCBWay. PCBWay is a custom prototyping service that can CNC machine, 3D print, or even injection mold your crazy ideas. It's super easy to upload your parts, choose from their wide range of materials, and even choose what type of surface finish you'd like. Then before you know it, you'll have it in your hands, fitting it to your crazy world rally car. Those hub adapters fit amazing, but those rims need tires. And lucky for me, the local cross-cart guys had some used tires I could get, but I need to put them on the rims. I have never put tires on rims before. I came to my friend's workshop here to see if he could help me. He just said, have at it, I got stuff to do. So, what's the worst could happen? Nice. We nearly got on the feet. Just a little bit more pressure. That scared the out of me. Despite having browner pants than before, I got the tires on and we're ready to put them on the car and give this thing a test drive. And with a bit of Kristen power, I got the thing started. Rally Finland, here we come. So close. With the momentum, you hear it. It's go, 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 go. No matter how many times we tried this, the engine just kept on bogging down. It just didn't have the power in the low end to get the cart moving. And at the time, I really didn't understand what was going on. But as I wheeled it back in the garage, it hit me. Of course, the big tires. Alright, we need to change the gearing on this to compensate for our big wheel diameter. Now, if you've got a mathematics degree or some sort of engineering degree, you'd probably be able to work this out yourself. But I don't. So what am I going to do? Well, I'm going to use ChatGPT. Okay, so I put this prompt in, and the information that came from this prompt was mind-blowing. Not only did it talk about chassis design and spring rate, but when we're talking about the size of the wheels, it gave me an exact ratio that's going to work perfect. But you can't trust robots, can you? And what I didn't realize at the time was that Thomas was also having his problems with his robot. His big 3D printer wasn't working at all. Things not looking good. I've still got massive problems with the gearing on this thing, and then on top, Thomas's printer is still not working. And Rally Finland is fast approaching. It's times like this you just want to give up, but you just have to focus on one problem at a time. So I'm going to focus on fixing the gearing, and then we'll just go from there. So rather than mathematically work out what gear ratio this was supposed to have, I thought I'd do the same as any backyard mechanic and put the biggest gear in that would fit. And yep, it was time to see what this thing can do. Now, for some reason, I had forgotten how absolutely brutal this engine is. I mean, I never even got out of first gear, but luckily the brakes are just as brutal. Oh my god. Oh, so I thought. Oh, I think I'm going to change my underpants now. Oh my god. Whew. Oh. Brakes. Brakes. Whew. Now initially I thought I just hadn't bled the brakes properly and there was a little bit of air still in the lines. But after hours and hours and liters of brake fluid, I realized there was something wrong. I was somehow still getting air in the lines. And on top of this, Thomas started printing on his little Bamboo Labs printer so we could actually give it a test fit. And somehow we'd got the measurements wrong.
Yeah, it'll hit back here. So we need to radically alter the geometry of everything.
Rally Finland just seems unrealistic at this point. Rally Finland is like less than 9 weeks away, and I've got a chassis that hasn't been tested yet. The brakes don't work, and Thomas has had to remodel the whole entire body again.
Oh,
I
good.
don't know if we're going to be able to make this. But
There's a but?
I have found
Ah.
the problem with the brakes.
Okay. Tell
Now,
me.
if you look here, you can see some wear actually where that aluminium is on the piston there. And I think what's happened is this is also worn inside the cylinder here. And that makes it a little divot where this lip seal can't seal. So I think I need to rebuild this. And then the brakes should be pretty good. Sorry, I think that's the problem. But if you have any other theories why I don't get enough braking power, then let me know in the comments.
Good.
And then Thomas hopefully can remodel quickly and get printing 24/7, and we might be able to make it, providing I don't run out of money.
No, the ye old money problem, eh?
Yeah.
What about your patrons? Can't they help?
Good point, Kristen, actually. If you want to see this car finished in Finland and potentially Sebastien Ogier driving it.
I don't know what to say. Amazing.
Maybe think about supporting me on Patreon. Those guys who support me already on Patreon are amazing and I'm super thankful. But even if you don't want to support me on Patreon, consider sharing this video, especially if you know somebody who's into rally. You never know who could watch this video. Sebastien Ogier could watch this video.
His way of working is not so conventional.
So, do me a solid, share the video, consider subscribing, and I'll see you in the next one. See ya!